Welcome back to the Augustana Observer podcast. I'm the Multimedia Section Editor, Jaren Smith, and I'm with my host,
Dippi Sharma.
Today we're going to be discussing Taylor Swift's newest album, and we have an amazing guest here with us today. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Chanel Colvin, and I'm a student here at Augustana, and I'm a Taylor Swift fan.
So, I guess my good starting question is, when the album came out, how long did it take for you to, say, start and finish the album?
I'd say I started it pretty much at 11 o'clock as our time zone here. You can listen to it at 11 o'clock. And then I'd say I finished it pretty much right away, but then only the first half of the album came out, and then at 1 a.m. our time, she was like, okay, so it's a double album. So I did end up going to bed a lot later than I thought that night. But I finished it right away. But then I find the day that the album comes out, the day after, I can really get my thoughts centered because I'll have listened to it multiple times.
Yeah, I feel the same. When it first came out, and then I was up till 2 a.m. doing homework, and then I literally opened Instagram, and she was like, the second album. And I was like, oh my god. And then I texted Jaren, I was like, there's a second album.
Yeah, and I didn't quite understand. I was imagining with the second album, okay, you click on one, then you click on another thing to listen to that set, not just one bit, because I know it's 31 songs. Yeah. Not just that. I was like, oh, a little more intimidating, but not the end of the world. But I'd say my next question for you would really be, what are some of your overall thoughts about this album?
I'd say very poetic. The lyrics, I feel as it is focused on a pop album, it felt like a lot of tribute to her older work. I found a lot of comparisons within Midnight's, Evermore, Folklore as well too. And then it's also fun to analyze, of course, who the songs are about, but I feel this album is very relatable. It gives a glimpse into her life, because I feel instead of Taylor telling us about her life through media, she tells us about her life through music.
I honestly, I know it was called the Tortured Poets Department. It was very poetic, but I wasn't a big fan of the whole album. There are a few songs that I love. I Can Do It With a Broken Heart. My heart goes out for that song. But I wasn't a big fan of the whole. There are fun songs that I still listen. I have to listen to something, multiple times in order to, get my thoughts into it, if that makes sense. But, yeah.
I'd say for me, considering that this is my first Taylor Swift album, I feel when Taylor's going to release, say, music now and whenever she releases her next thing, I feel for someone to truly dive in and to be a Taylor Swift fan, they'll have to listen to some of her work in the past. So, for me, I don't think this album was bad at all. It's just Taylor Swift's music, not for me personally, but some of my favorites, the Albatross, Fresh Out of the Slammer, But Daddy I Left, those are my favorite. But like you both are saying, very poetic. The title I thought was really unique because I was I just did not really expect that from Taylor Swift. Mm-hmm. But I think if I had listened to, say, some of her music that came out a few years ago, then listened to this, I probably would have had different thoughts. But like both of you mentioned, I'm the type to listen to music a couple of times, whether it be a specific song or specific album, then it's be oh, I didn't catch this the first time. But yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, plus I feel there was a lot of controversy inside these songs. Thank You, there was this song that she has, which was a shout out to Kim Kardashian, and then I think she also mentioned North in the song, and there has been a whole controversy about how she's talking about other people in the album. So how do you feel about it?
I think that the song can be interpreted in many different ways. It could be an allude to her ex-best friend, Karlie Kloss, as well, too. Because, of course, Kim really did play a major role in Taylor's disappearance right before Reputation. But I do think that definitely it is very interesting of her to mention her children in the song. But I think people are forgetting, she was the victim in the situation. And if she chooses to talk about that but leave North out of it. But also I feel like North has been confirmed to like listen to her music, allude to her music, and I think that she was trying to play on to the media constantly talking about like, oh, did you see her make a TikTok to the song? And like, we can't converse about it because the comments are off, but we can only converse about it through media. So I think it was her way of being like, I see this happening. And, you know, she did write Karma. I mean, who do we think Karma was about, or things like that? So I feel like that was another thing that I thought. She's had a lot of songs like this. It's not the first song that has been, like, alluded to someone in a way. I feel like this one just stuck out more, you know, like K-I-M being capitalized, so that's why people are talking about it.
Yeah, I feel the same. Plus, like, the Kardashians are a pretty much a big deal, and they love drama. So, come on, why? And plus,
gotta keep up with the Kardashians.
Yes, quite literally.
Yeah, plus, like, with the whole Kanye thing and everything, I feel like it's just blown over. Plus, like, another thing, I feel like, it was much discussed that this is, like, the next breakup album that she, like, published right after Red. Like, the last time she published, like, an album like this was Red. So, do you, like, see that? I feel like there's a lot of difference, though. Like, the Red songs are a lot more pop and, like, more fun, while, like, these songs are a lot more soothing. Does that make sense?
I definitely see the difference. Now, we're kind of exposed that Folklore and Evermore could have been perceived as breakup albums or, like, relationship denial as well, too. So, with some of these tracks, they really compare to other albums, and it kind of makes it seem like her albums between Red and Now are, like, breakup albums almost. Like, that's kind of what I was picturing from this, like, analyzing it myself. I was just like, oh, like, this kind of, like, when she referenced Cardigan, like, Folklore and Evermore had to come from somewhere. And so I think that Red also kind of gives off that, like, country vibe, like, breakup album, and then the vault track specifically in Red. So I think that this definitely is compared to it lyrically, but, like, two different genres, it seems like. I just don't feel like I wasn't really thinking about Red while listening to it, to be honest. Unless it was a song Daddy I Love Him, which kind of had more of like her like country type of side, like incorporated, or the instruments in the background, the production of the song. But other than that, yeah.
I feel like this album had a lot of Easter eggs for her, like, old albums.
Yes.
Coming when she started off with country, and then now, like, pop, and then more, like, soothing part, and, like, whole being in a relationship, and then we're never getting back together. And, you know, everything was so, like, this album incorporated all of her albums, if that makes sense. Yeah. So coming to that, what's, like, your favorite Taylor Swift album?
Ooh, my favorite album at the moment right now, I'd have to say Reputation. I always say that. Or 1989. I'm a big Reputation girly. I get really excited about it. But I definitely don't. It's probably not one of my most streamed ones now. But I definitely think the Tortured Poets Department could surprisingly end up being one of my favorites.
So, sorry to interrupt. So is it kind of like for you, but with these albums, that kind of like switch the more you listen to them?
Yes, it depends on what period of my life I'm in. Like, sometimes I'll even say Folklore, because I do love, like, how Folklore sounds, how it's different, how she just expanded, like, what she could do with her music as well. Also, I'd say it highly depends on who produces the albums. If it's Jack Antonoff or if it's Aaron Dessner, that will highly depend as well, too.
We don't have to dive too into this. This is from a me not knowing thing. Wasn't there a huge, like, by my understanding, Taylor Swift had re-released some of her songs, but, like, with her own, I guess, so, like, she makes the money off of it and not, like, her, like, label. Was this recent album, like, another instance of her releasing the music and not someone, a record label?
Yeah, this one is brand new. The last re-record that she'll have to do is Reputation, so for her to be saving that for last kind of hurts, but, like, I can see why, because this is definitely worth it.
Yeah, I feel like I love Reputation. It is one of my favorite, like, albums that she has. And then I honestly like the last album that she released too, like, Midnights. Like, when I first listened to it, I was, like, a little confused. But, like, as I listened to it, like, some of my favorite songs are from Midnight. And like the song "You Know You're on Your" wait, I'm sorry, "You're on Your Own, Kid."
Yes.
And like I can do it with a broken heart. Like I feel like those link so hard.
They do.
Yeah, and then like that was my favorite song in Midnight, and now in this album it's I Can Do It With a Broken Heart. So I feel like it all links together.
And something that, like, from my first experience, like, thinking about is that, like, I also feel like I had this conversation with someone the other day. Like, when I'm listening to an album, like, have to listen to the songs in order to try to doesn't matter what genre of music it is, because I feel like you want to understand, like, okay, this is how they're feeling at the start, then, like, maybe somewhere in the middle there might be a complete tone shift, then at the bottom. So I feel like, and then, like, let's say with, like, my own specific playlist, it's got dozens of different music artists, so it's like my own playlist is like, I don't want to listen to it in order, but like music albums like this one, I feel like I have to. But like I feel like from my perspective, like hearing, like going from first, second, all the way down to 31st, I feel like all the songs were in a great order. I feel like they weren't really out of place. Like if you were to switch some of the songs around, I feel like it would, I won't say it would like make it the album worse per se, but it's like, why would you put like "But Daddy I Love Him" as the 10th song and not the 13th song if that's not the right order? Please don't attack me, Swifties. I'm new. Like I'm stepping, my foot's in the door. But another question, because we talked about Easter eggs and say like potentially like alluding to people, like the whole world knows she's dating Taylor. I almost said she was dating herself. The whole world knows she's dating Travis Kelce. Do you two think that maybe he was alluded to, or was he directly mentioned? I just did not catch it.
I don't think so.
I think the only songs where could allude to her being in a new romance. I don't know specifically Travis is So High School and The Alchemy, but other than that, I'm not sure. Or in reference to like when she has multiple lyrics discussing like her like being in a happy, content place. That could allude to Travis because she did post into Fortnite, so I could see her like referencing him in the albums. But I think it wasn't very clear though. Like I feel like the next album would be enough for us to get like a love song, because even then it's like it captures a time in her life and her place, and I don't know like the specific gap between Joe and Travis, so it could have been "I'm Happy Now" song, or it could have been a "I'm in Love" song. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like this album was more about her getting over things and healing more than like a new guy, if that makes sense. I feel like
Yes.
you said, I feel like the next album will be more like, oh, I'm in love, blah, blah, if like things work out. Hopefully they do. But, you know, I feel like that's going to be more like romantic centered. But like this one is more like, I'm healing by myself. Let me feel my feelings and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree with you both 100%. And I would feel like with the album, The Tortured Poets Department, if it was more lovey-dovey, like a romance album, that would almost be like misleading, because if you're going to throw in a love song about Travis Kelce with a title that more so might have a sad connotation, I feel like I'd be off-put. Not to say that I wouldn't enjoy the song, but I agree. I feel like when Taylor drops her next album, whether it's a year or two from now, which I'm sure most true diehard fans be like sooner rather than later, but anyways, I would think that maybe with the next one there'll be more clear-cut Travis Kelce references.
Yeah. So, we know that, like, she incorporates some of her, like, real-life instances, like we talked about before. So, like, what do you think is, like, can you mention, like, a song that you know that is kind of related to her real life? Like, anything that happened in real life or something like that?
Honestly, I'd say that almost all of them have, like, some sort of reference to her real life, but situationally, I think "Thank You, Amy" is the one that sticks out the most to me about, like, that one. And "So Long, London," of course, I think that one is about Joel Alwyn, definitely, for sure. I mean, she had a song called "London Boy" about him. So I definitely think that one, and the references to, like, marriage and how long they were in a relationship. I mean, 6 years and no ring. Like, I would, or there could have been a ring. We just didn't know because, I mean, they tried to hide it. Their own relationship. So I think that in general, and let's see, I think definitely most of them, like, on the original first album could have alluded to something. I'm just curious about, like, if, for example, songs like Florida alluded to something, because I haven't heard a lot about her in Florida.
Like, things are, like, yeah, I was like, Florida, where did that come from?
Yeah, it's honestly my favorite on the album. I just want to know where it came from.
Yeah.
I'm happy it exists, but I want to know. Or, like, you know, Who's Afraid of Little Old Me? I could definitely see that, like, being something from her real life.
Also, like, But Daddy, I Love Him, I remember it all too well. I think it's a little related when, like, she says something about, like, her 21st birthday and she was waiting at the door and her father was like, what are you doing? You know, I feel like they have a link. I don't know. And then I feel like this album is so All Too Well. It is very All Too Well. Like, also, I love All Too... It is one of my favorite songs from Taylor Swift, and I love the fact that it's 10 minutes long.
No, yes, me too. Me too. One drive.
Was that song came out last year that was like 10 minutes? Am I thinking of the right song?
Yeah,
okay.
Start filming everything.
Yeah, I remember that now. I was gonna say, I'm like, wait, did I miss a 10-minute song on this album?
No, it was I love that song. It's one of my favorites, literally. Like, the lyrics just, like, hit different. It makes you feel like you're actually her.
Yeah, it does. It does.
I feel like with this album, like, I feel like with kind of like how the two you were saying earlier, with it being more like the healing aspect, I feel like maybe not fully, but it's almost like if we had a chance to step into her shoes, like, to understand why she's healing, what she's healing from, I feel like, you know, this is an album that kind of gives a little bit of that, because I feel like, maybe this is just me, I feel like from a romance album sort of feeling, I feel like I'm not saying that's not hard to connect to, because I mean, it's very easy to relate to romance, but I think really, like, stepping into Taylor Swift's shoes, knowing who Taylor Swift is, I feel like this album is a good, I guess, representation of that.
That is true. Plus, like, I'm not, like, a big Swiftie, but I love Taylor Swift songs, and I feel like she's a more love-focused person. Like, her songs, I feel like it revolves around, like, love as a whole more than any other thing. While, like, there was a few songs like Bad Blood and stuff like that was, like, it is said to be, like, shout out to, like, her breakup with her friends and stuff like that. I feel like all her songs are more love-related, and me being a hopeless romantic, I kind of go into those things. And then now this album coming out, it reminds me that it's my healing era as well.
Yeah, I get that. And, like, I feel like with my view of Taylor Swift before this is that, like, I just really just imagined the romantic songs. And, like, I won't say I'm a romantic by any means. Like, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I don't know. But I feel like when you mentioned, like, Bad Blood, like, that's a song I know, that's a song that I've known before this. But yeah, no, I totally get that. And here's a question for the both of you. It doesn't have to be a song off of this album, but what is the first Taylor Swift song that pops into your mind? Or if there's a song that Taylor Swift has made that is like, this describes my life perfectly, what song would you say? I got the two harder hitting question.
Okay, so when I feel like last semester it was You're on Your Own, Kid, because I came here from across the world and it was like, oh, I'm alone here, I can do my thing. I left like a whole life there, but at the moment I feel like it's New Romantics. That song, it's one of my favorites, and I don't know, it's just a fun song and I love listening to it. So it's not like per se like I'm really connecting to it, but I feel like it kind of represents like a part of me right now. So yeah.
I probably would always say My Tears Ricochet, or just anything off Folklore or Illicit Affairs. When you like to see the best in people, or when they show you something new and then things just don't work out and you it's very therapeutic. I actually love screaming that song, but I'd say also I can do it with a broken heart. Like that just hits.
Yeah.
It's like you can be productive, you can do all these things. That one I definitely could say relates. That's a really good question. A really good question.
Yeah, I love the line where she's like, I cry a lot, but I'm so productive. It's like an art. Like it's different. But yeah. So she, like, you've been to the Eras tour, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how was your experience there?
It was very out of this world. It was like my first concert, so like my expectations are just too high now. Like it was a 3-hour show and like 3 hours, costume changes, lots of music. The vocals, her vocals are just really amazing. Like it's really amazing. Even though she's not dancing is not like her thing, I was still captivated. Like she was pretty good at like with the choreography and stuff. And so I was very captivated. I did not want the show to end. It like went faster than I thought it would. So it was amazing, and it really takes you through every era except for debut, which is honestly respectful. I don't think you'd want to perform something that you made when you were a teenager.
Yeah.
Although it's a good thing of work, I could see why she didn't carry out debut. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I think it's a worth it experience.
Yeah, I really, really wanted to go. I missed the whole Eras tour. I could not go to any of those, but I hope she has one again. But I'm like, I haven't seen, I think she like, there's a new movie out, or like with her Eras tour and stuff like that. I need to like, I'm waiting for a time while I'm completely free, so I can watch it like with my full focus and attention on it. So, yeah. Like we know that over the years, Taylor Swift, like she's changed from like a country girl to like pop and stuff like that. So what has been your favorite era?
Definitely like pop, and like after, I'm not a big country music girl in general, but I do like Taylor's country. I mean,
Yeah.
it's good. Like I like it. I still listen to those albums. But I definitely think that pop and her genres is like folklore and evermore. I really like how relatable those are.
Yeah, I agree. I am not a big country like song girl, but Taylor Swift's album, like Teardrops on My Guitar. Oh my god.
That song is good. That one's from debut too, and it's so good. It's like, how'd you make this? Like this at this age, like that's so cool.
She was like, I think 17. No. Yeah, something like that.
She was a teenager.
Yeah, she was a teenager and she came out with these songs. Like Teardrops on My Guitar, like I feel like it's always gonna be one of her really good songs.
I've got one little funny story to share and then the next question. So my very, very first job, I was, like basically worked at like a little amusement park, and with one of the rides, her song Shake It Off always came on. It was the only song that was on that ride. And the thing is, by the end of that summer, I knew all the lyrics to that song, and like it was stuck at like I'd be going to sleep hearing that song in my head, because whether somebody likes it or not, that is a very, very catchy song.
It is.
Yeah.
But I can picture it in my mind right now, me watching over the rides, watching over the little kids, and hearing Shake It Off in the background. But my next question would be with going back to, this album. I think like this album's been out for about a week now. We're recording on April 25th. It came out last Friday. So yeah, I think tomorrow marks a full week. Yeah. So full week. So I feel like with music, like just 1 week, that's kind of hard to give like the true opinions, because like we discussed earlier, it's like maybe a month from now you might pick up on something you hadn't listened, like you hadn't caught the first time. So how much time do you think either you or say fans should give to this album to say like, this is Taylor's best album, or maybe this isn't her best album, but it's still really good? How much time do you need to make that decision?
For me personally, I take a lot of time. I have to listen to it every day. I need to, because when I listen to it, I'm doing other stuff. Like I'm either walking to class, I'm at the gym, or I'm doing my homework or something like that. So I feel like when I listen to album a lot, and then I get aware of a song. If I like it, I like get aware of it. That's like for Midnight, it took me literally 2 months to like know all the songs like by heart, like with the title and everything. And plus, like, this is a big ass album, like 2 albums combined. So yeah, it'll take me time, like about like 2 months. I'm not gonna lie, it's like a lot of time, but for me to process it and like actually understand what she means, it will take me time.
I like to rank like what I think about albums by how many songs that I really favorite, like, or like, you know, just talk about. And so I think I've already gotten a lot of that like part of the album, but I feel like as soon as albums come out, I like to listen to my favorite songs. And so then like I kind of forget about the other songs. So I'm still finding some other songs and I'm like, oh wait, this is good too. Like the other day, How Did It End? I didn't realize how beautiful the intro was. I really was just like, wait a minute, I saw a TikTok about it and was like, okay, let me listen to it again, now that one starts. So I'd say like give me like a month or so.
Yeah.
I'd like also to describe my music taste a little, because I know throughout this episode I've often said that this is my first Taylor Swift. I'd say I'm much more of a hip-hop rap sort of like music genre, but like I'll listen to all kinds of music, and like both of you, I'm not the biggest country music fan, like but I'd say with some of my favorite music artists, like I'll listen to their album regardless of it being, say, hip-hop or rap. I'll listen to it once, have like the general thoughts, and can pick out my favorite songs off that specific album. Then I go listen to it again. It's like, oh man, like this, like I've got 2 older siblings, and music that they used to listen to when I was way younger, I understand some of the references now on like 10 years later, which, you know, but I'd say in general though, connecting back to the question, I'd say I like the answer like a month, because both of your answers, you said like a month or 2. So I'd say like a month or 2 would give me like my full thoughts. But then like if it would stand up to say time, because like I feel like some music, maybe this doesn't apply to Taylor. You could release an album today, the next year, and let me like, I don't know if it withstands the test of time. So in regards to that aspect, I feel like I revisit that. So it's like a month or 2 to really understand it. Then like longer than that to be like, yeah, I think a year from now people will still be listening to this.
And I feel like this album, you have to listen to her older songs in order to understand this one, because there's a lot of references. It's just you have to know her eras before you listen to this, like, because this is like a bit different from what she usually does.
It is. It's very different. And, you know, I almost was like, is this even considered pop for a moment there? Because I was, you know, right now it says pop, and sometimes on different streaming services they will change, like, what they label it as, but, like, it hasn't, I was like, it feels very poetic, feels very deep, and it's the kind of music that I personally like to listen to. I also feel like where you're at in your life really, really, really highly depends on what songs are going to be your favorite. And later on, during different times, different songs could be your favorite. A great example of this is, like, 1989 Vault tracks.
Mm-hmm.
How, like, Is It Over Now, Say Don't Go, weren't my top 2 songs because I wasn't going through what I was going through right now. And now those are my top 2 songs, and I love Say Don't Go. Another example of this is I've always loved the Red Vault tracks, but I Bet You Think About Me, I've always loved that song, but now I love it even more. Mm-hmm. So I feel like depending on where you're at with your life as well, too, can, like, really depend on, like, what songs connect with you, because if you're, like, I can do with Broken Heart, really can relate to people who are broken heart, or even people who are just simply going through mental health issues and still trying to navigate their life, you know, or like health issues as well too. Like, so I feel like later on, depending on like some of these songs, I might be like, oh wait, this really sticks out more, which I think is a really good point to bring up.
Both of you have mentioned that, like, to maybe appreciate this album more, you'd have to listen to her past things. So what albums would the 2 of you recommend for me to listen to say better understand this one? Because I won't like I understood each song for what it was, but the deeper meaning, I didn't catch that for every song. So What would you say I should listen to then better appreciate this album?
Folklore and Evermore.
I would also actually go back to Reputation. I'm not gonna lie, because Reputation was more like, oh, I'm back. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Are you ready for like the shit I'm gonna give you?
Yes.
But now and then, like Midnight was like more love and everything, but while Evermore and Folklore have like similar vibes to the Tortured Poets Department, I feel like maybe not like all albums, I would say little songs out of every album.
Yeah, like Cardigan and Peter. Like there's references to Peter, like Wendy and Peter Pan. And that's why I say Folklore. Also, I feel like Folklore and Evermore, I don't think you tolerate it when you're in a happy and loving relationship.
Yeah.
So I'd say going back to watching maybe even the Airstream performance of Tolerate It, read like just also knowing some English references, because there's even some times where like I've had to be like, Taylor, now what are you referencing? And then I see what she's referencing, and then I'm like, oh, okay, this is even deeper than I thought. I'd say that. I'd also say Midnight's itself, because everybody was speculating like if her and Joe were breaking up because of Midnight's as well, because we're like, you don't write some of these songs. And even Lover, even though that's not my favorite album, like people have referenced Lover, Death by a Thousand Cuts. Why do you write that song in a happy relationship? So I'd say works like that. Reputation for sure too, because I mean that was like Joe's like album. Like, you know, she was showcasing Joe in like her documentary, talking about like falling in love with Joe. So I definitely think that there are some references. Also just other artists that she like maybe listens to, I'd say as well too, or other media that she consumes. But other than that, I'd just say like a lot of Evermore specifically, if I were to choose any album that I felt referenced, because I feel like Evermore and Folklore, I didn't appreciate them when they first came out because I was too young.
Plus, like, they came out in the same year.
Yeah, they came out at the same time. It's a lot of music to decompress, and now those are like two of my top things. It kind of started this poetic, not that she hasn't always been poetic, but started this like music lyrics where her lyricism was very pointed out this era.
I'll make sure to keep that in mind.
Yeah. Plus Folklore and Evermore, it's more like soothing. Like, it's a little sad if like I have to put like a word to it. Like Lover, it's so out there. It's like pop, 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 pop. And it's so like, it's like vibrant colors. Even if you look at the album and like the pictures about the album, it's just like vibrant colors. But these two ones, like I remember them being like such like foggy and cloudy.
Yes.
You know, like you get the vibe from it. And the Tortured Poets Department, she's like, the pictures are like her in the bed, like she's just sleeping, she's with herself. Like it shows that she's healing, if that makes sense. So like the album pictures and stuff like that, I feel like they go into what the album is more about, and that's how you can link it to like the songs and the vibe she's going for.
And I'd also point out with the similar artists like Stevie Nicks in the vinyl, there's a lyric poem by Stevie Nicks in there. And Florence and the Machine is very well compared to Stevie Nicks. Daisy Jones and the Six, his capture of media. People that she tours with as well too, like Gracie Abrams. Her album Good Riddance really reminds me of this album. And so for Stevie Nicks and specifically Silver Springs, that I could see that going on this album. I could definitely see that going on this album, and I think that she took inspiration from that heartbreak because it was so public, and hers was public as well, even though the relationship was private, but the breakup was more public, as in the sense that like Chloe, Sam, or Sophia, like that song, like people think that could be about Maddie Healy, so she's already had two relationships that are kind of just like public. So I'd say referencing other work too is very useful.
Did you have any other questions that you had to ask?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
We'll do one different thing for this special episode. If the two of you have questions you want to ask me, because, again, I'm the new Swiftie in the room, I'll open it up to the two of you to ask me a question. Switching roles for a minute if you have something that you want to ask me that hasn't been asked already.
Have you listened to any other Taylor Swift songs before this? Like, I know there are like a few like famous songs like "You Belong with Me" and "Love Story." I feel like everybody's heard of it.
Off the top of my head, those two, "Bad Blood," "Shake It Off." There were some songs last year that she came out with. I don't remember the names, but I'd have to sit and like actually like I'm somebody where it's like if you were to play music, even if it's somebody I don't listen to as much, I might recognize the song, but I might not put say like the title together. But yeah, I'd say those four specifically. And if I'm just like I remember a specific line from a song, if this title's already said, I listened to the song on my 22nd birthday. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22. I don't know if that's a line in the song was already said, but so it's a very short list, but I'd say it might be more than some people.
Yeah. So how do you feel about them?
Those specific songs?
Uh-huh.
Kind of like I don't dislike any of those songs. I think it's more so for me. It's like if I'm driving, I'm not going to like, oh, I'm going to put on this specific song. Like, so I wouldn't say I'm the point where it's like, I'm going to go out of my way to listen to Taylor Swift. Like, if I'm in a room and Taylor Swift is playing, I'm not going to complain. Like, that's just, I mean, there's very little music that I actually would complain if it was being played. But I guess I'd say I had more of a neutral view of Taylor Swift. Like, I'm not a fan, like a true fan, but I don't dislike Taylor Swift. So I'd say I'm that healthy medium. Sorry again, Swifties.
No, you're fine. I feel like Taylor Swift is something I will listen to in the shower, and then I can listen to in the car while I'm driving in the car, or when I'm with my friends out dancing, or if I'm in my fields. You know, I feel like she has different genres. So that's why I love Taylor Swift. It's like she doesn't do just one thing. She has like different kind of genres, and you can like vibe to different albums, different songs when you're in your different moods.
Same for me. Like, you know, depending on the weather or certain seasons, like right now's weather, like definitely not this. I would be listening to this album like when it's foggy, when it's rainy, but like for some reason I'm listening to this album constantly. So yeah, I like fall and red go hand in hand for me. So like I definitely get that.
Mm-hmm.
True. Well, I think that's a perfect place to end today's episode. Just want to thank you so much for your time. We both really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.